Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I've got a treat for you today. It's an interview with a great student of the Proven Amazon course. As you know, if you've been around a while, most of our episodes on this podcast, hundreds of them, are interviews with successful students who've been through our Proven Amazon course training. Today's no exception. This is a student. He and his wife have been with us for about 6 months now as we recorded this episode today, early 2025. They've had an amazing journey. Check this out. They started with just $500. That's it. They haven't put another penny in. $500 covered all their initial inventory, the tools, the training, even the printer that they needed to get started. And they've grown that now in 6 months approximately to a business that has about $30,000 worth of inventory and has paid them several $1,000s in net profit. So they turned $500 into about $35,000, $40,000. We do the math today. That's the Amazon opportunity, the way we teach it here. We love to help students take tiny risks, learn as they earn, and wade slowly into this incredible, expansive opportunity of e-commerce, starting with Amazon. But as you hear today, our guest also sells and has made money on other platforms, such as eBay, which they've been there for a while, and they intend to get on Walmart soon. We love to see the diversification of our students. Something else we're excited about is they are using the system. If you've heard us talk about that, you can go to silentjimdotcom/the system to get more information about it. We spent some time talking to Matthew today about how excited they are to have a complete workflow software that's going to manage their Amazon replens business for them as they grow. And they're looking to automate, to turn the business over to virtual assistants and maybe a warehouse worker at some point, just like Kang did, the guy that created the software. He's teaching hundreds of students right now how this workflow software works in their business. Some of them have been using it for a year at this point. And in Kang's situation, he has a multiple seven-figure, $3 million business that's run by a couple people, a warehouse worker and a virtual assistant, a couple other people from time to time as is needed. And he's completely hands-free because the software does the heavy lifting. It's built a beautiful workflow that takes all the time-wasting elements out of the process, takes all the spreadsheets out of the process. So if you want to check that out, again, silentjim.com/the system has an update for you on where that is. But the guy we're interviewing today, Matthew, he's using it himself, and we spent some time talking about that. He's got a full-time job. He and his wife only put in about 8 to 10 hours a week on this business. Like I said, he's in full-time in sales, so this is a side gig thing for him. But still, he's turned $500 into a $35,000 to $40,000 business on Amazon in about 6 months. Pretty incredible. I asked him a lot of great questions about how they do what they do. I think you're going to learn some really good things from this guy. And one of my favorite topics, don't miss this, is when he talks about mindset and relationships and how vital those are and how important those are to the growth of his business. So lock in, not just on the technique and the strategy, but the mindset, the commitment to building relationships. Those things will take you further faster than just about anything else you can do in any business, e-commerce included, especially when e-commerce is so impersonal sometimes and you're sitting behind your lonely computer and it's just you and you're looking, doing research and selling random things to strangers. Don't lock yourself into that isolation mode. You've got to be out there talking to others. Get into a mastermind. Find people who live near you in our community. We've got 79,000 people in our Facebook group. There's someone who lives near you, a good handful of someone's odds are. Get into a group with them. If there isn't a group yet in your area, start one. We make that easy to do in our Facebook group, by the way. There's a direct link. I'll stick this in the show notes. It comes to mind as I'm talking about this topic. It's a post where you can find others who live near you. The shortcut link right to that post in our Facebook group is silentjim.com/near me, as in who lives near me. silentjim.com/near me, all one word. It'll take you right to that post. We give you instructions on how to find others in our community who might live near you so you can begin to build those vital relationships to get encouragement, inspiration, the synergy effect, which Matthew talks a little bit about today as well. I think you're going to enjoy this time with my guest today. Be encouraged, be inspired by it. And We'll have another great episode for you very soon. We got so many of these lined up. We're starting 2025 off with so many incredible guests lined up. You're really going to love the time spent with the guests we have coming. All right. God bless you, business building warrior. Let's jump over and hear from Matthew. So Matthew, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, man.
Hey, Jim. It's good to see you as well. I'm excited.
I appreciate you doing this. You're on the newer end, as I mentioned in the introduction, of students around here, but you're seeing some cool stuff happen and you agreed to be on the show. So I'm looking forward to hearing your story if you're ready.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to share. It was an awesome fourth quarter and looking forward to a strong 2025.
Let's go, man. Well, tell us your story. Let's get into it.
Well, I first was introduced into e-commerce when I was in college. eBay was big and I needed extra funds. So I found out that our college was going digital. So they gave me all of their old shop manuals and all their books. So that's when I started capitalizing on eBay. I wasn't very efficient with it. Didn't have any resources such as your coaching team and just the PAC course to help. So I ended up slowly fading away and started getting to the rat race, and I've been in ever since. And then I was kind of praying about it, and I ran across one of your ads, and this was on Facebook. I'm not one who tends to click ads on Facebook. I clicked on it. I'm like, okay, I can invest this much. It was one of your very discounted programs that kind of introduced you to PAC. And I did it, listened to your audiobook, and just went through the content. And I expressed it to my wife. I'm like, I did something a little crazy for me. I purchased something from Facebook, from an ad. It's one of the best blessings that we've had, though.
Wow. That's so cool because we've only started recently doing some paid ads on Facebook. I went 20 plus years teaching and doing e-commerce and kind of growing this thing organically. Started doing some paid ads, and it's bringing some pretty cool people into our community, making me think, man, we should have started doing this sooner. But yeah, I'm glad you're one of them. That's pretty cool. So how long ago was this, would you say, approximately, when you found the ad and jumped in?
It was the last week in June.
Oh, okay. So this, yeah, because here we are just getting into 2025, so a little over 6 months or so ago. Yeah, about 6 months or so ago. And so how's the journey going so far?
It's been wonderful. It's an adventure. There's ups and there's downs, but there's always something to be learned in what we call mistakes. I call them learning opportunities because we can learn and we can grow from them if we learn from them.
Great perspective. Yeah. Focus on the loss or focus on the lesson, which is it going to be? And you just, pick yourself up and keep moving forward, right? Beautiful. All right. So yeah, fill us in on some details though. What have you done so far?
Well, we sent in our first FBA products back at the end of June, or I guess actually it was the end of July. Our first item sold on August 13th. And I'm fairly active in the Facebook community, but I'm normally one who just likes and reads. I don't always comment a lot. But when we got our first sales going, I did share that because it was just exciting. I mean, it's always exciting when you finally see some fruit.
Right.
And then we kind of went wild with it as far as it's good to study keeper charts. It's good to learn going into it. If you don't know, don't invest heavily into it because sometimes it can reward, sometimes it can hurt a bit. But we learned through that, and we focused on working in the categories that were ungated for us because I see that a lot, and there are a ton of opportunities. You can't shop like you shop. Think about the value proposition that Amazon offers and virtually anything. I mean, you can scan anything, you can search anything, keep as your friend, learn how to read the charts. It's fairly simple. And keep the pipeline growing. Test small, keep the pipeline growing.
Yeah, keep finding Asens, right? I've got my keep finding Asens mug here. That kind of becomes a theme as you start to get into this. As long as you're finding new test-worthy Asens constantly, most of the other problems are going to fix themselves. It's when you get obsessed or preoccupied with one Asen or one category or one brand, or you go super deep on this one concept, that's when you're playing on scary territory. But if you do this, diversify your risk strategy that we teach new sellers especially to stick to, you really can build a fairly robust business very quickly, and there's no risk really in it, because your worst case scenario, as you now know, Matthew, is you drop your price, you get your money back on the stuff that didn't quite work out, and you go find more Asens, right? Yeah, so it sounds like that's what you're doing. How many Asens have you guys found so far to sell against?
We've got about 160 now.
Good job.
Not all of them are replenishables. A lot of things, again, when we were gated heavily, trying to get things on clearance. We went through used books, and books, they're fairly easy to get.
Yep.
Bring your family into it. My wife and I do this together.
Beautiful.
I work a full-time job. This is, at some point, Lord willing, will become what we do, or at least an aspect of what we do.
Right. Right. So does your wife work as well in an outside job?
She does not.
Okay. So how much time are you putting into this? What's the reality of this? How, you and her and what's her name, by the way?
Antoinette Nelson.
Antoinette. Okay. Very good. So Matthew and Antoinette, we're tackling this business together since June. What's the reality now? What have you guys kind of settled into routine wise?
Basically, we have an eBay portion of this as well. Because I was familiar with eBay. I'm like, I know it. Let's just have multiple streams, and they kind of complement each other at this point. But you are doing all the shipping with eBay. At least I am at this point. Right. So typically, I run through my orders for the evening. I get that topped off before I start my 9 to 5 per se, and we tend to try to group up any of our RA while we're shopping out and about. So we kind of have a circuit that we run through. And there again, I see this as just spending time together and enjoying our lives together. And it's an additional income flow that has great potential to overrun our current income flow.
Yeah. You start to see the vision of what this can turn into. You've already done some good numbers, but you're starting to see the vision of, wow, this has potential. And you're right, it does. So you're doing retail arbitrage, RA, you mentioned. You're primarily sourcing from stores near you, retail shelf stores near you then, correct?
That was our 2024 model. We're currently breaking into wholesale. We've organized to become an LLC. So we have a resale certificate. Taxes. Why give the 7% to the government?
Yeah, get your tax-free inventory.
Exactly. Also, in Q4, we learned that it was very difficult to keep up with our inventory doing RA. And I know OA is an option as well. We do some of that, very little, but we've got some strong numbers that we're forecasting this year. And I saw wholesale as the best option, but all of these are additional flows for me. RA is a flow. If we're out about, we enjoy it. We'll pick some things up. We'll scan some things. If we're searching online, like we had a few snow days, maybe we'll look at ordering some stuff in. Wholesale relationships, I love it because you get to build relationship. Yeah. And you can grow on that relationship, and that can lead to private label and other opportunities in the future.
Fantastic. You're really catching on. I call it lifestyle sourcing is what I call it. I operate in that same flow. I don't know how I'm going to source or if I'm going to source any given day. But if I'm out at a Walmart or a Target, or like you said, it's a snow day, or I find myself with some spare time I didn't know I was going to have. Yeah, I've got some open up Keepa and hit some online sites while I'm sitting there waiting on my car to be worked on, whatever. It's like you just kind of squeeze it in. Some people are very routine, and I think we need some routine. But I've got a team kind of running my business as well, so I just kind of contribute when I feel like it to that side of my business. But yeah, you can really squeeze it into your lifestyle. How many hours would you say a week that you guys are working on the business?
That's something that I haven't quantified completely yet, but I would say probably
a rough estimate.
8 to 10.
8 to 10 hours a week each?
Roughly, and it kind of blends with our lifestyle, so it's kind of hard to really separate it, especially when we're doing RA. I enjoy it's kind of like hunting. I'm not a hunter, but it's hunting for products. Yeah, you get to negotiate with some vendors out here, which is great too. One of the classes I took early on was buying local and selling to the world. I believe it was. I just love it. But I understand to grow that we need to set processes in place. We did sign up for 3P Mercury. Nice. Our house needed to be put into order for us to grow to the next step. Yes.
So for those who don't know what 3P Mercury is, we call it the system as well. That's silentjimdotcom/the system. But tell me from your perspective, Matthew, what is 3P Mercury? What are you hoping it does? Why did you get into it?
Workflow. It'll organize our workflow, which is a major time management issue. We put it off until mid-December because we were all excited about fourth quarter, getting stuff
Sure.
in, getting everything in,
Right.
seeing the return on investment. And then we saw tax season coming, and we saw our organization of actually, I'll just piles and piles of receipts.
Right.
That are
I see that envelope.
but
Yeah.
that doesn't grow your business in 2025.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Matthew, I know you know this because you've probably listened to some of the episodes. And again, silentjimdotcom/the system is where you can go. But one of the many beautiful features that helps completely streamline the workflow, to use your word, and I love that word, Kang loves that word, that's why he developed this software, is how small of a team you can use to run a very robust Amazon resale business. Wholesale, RAOA, doesn't really matter, replens, whatever strategy, private label, doesn't matter. But you can use the software to, like you just showed your stack of receipts. Like, oh man, if Amazon told you right now, we need every receipt for Ace and X. You sold 400 units in the past 6 months. We need to see every receipt. You go into scramble mode because you don't have a system or a workflow yet, probably, I'm guessing. With the system, the software, you do. And you just tap a couple buttons, type in that ASIN, say, pull the receipt report, and boom, here it is. Images of all the receipts. It's ready in seconds. So those little things allow you to operate at such a higher speed, and even how you check your items in as they come in and know which ASIN they're assigned to. So you're not having to do research and find out, okay, these shoes, which ASIN was this again? I've got several different Nike ASINs. I can't remember which one. Several of them are blue. Which one does this belong to? It speeds that up to the point where Kang runs his entire business with just a couple people, and it's a $3 million replen business, right? And he doesn't do anything. The system does it all. The software does it all. So yeah, that's probably what attracted you to it. And that's me giving a bit of a pitch, but I love hearing your perspective. And the first thing you said was workflow. And you're right. You got to have an appreciation for streamlining your processes, and you're going to need to use tools to do that. So I love that you guys are jumping in. I'm super excited that you're among the early beta users. Like there's about 400 of you at this point, but I think there's going to be thousands of people using this software soon as word gets out what it's capable of. So yeah, so glad you're doing that.
Yeah, we're excited because we know where we were. We didn't necessarily have the time to invest anymore, but it was time to start bringing in resources. It's time to start streamlining our processes so we can train others to do it and remove ourselves from the places we don't need to be anymore. And that's what's it's synergy. It's bringing in other people, working together, and have us focus on the higher level stuff to grow new income streams. We're planning on bringing on Walmart this year. We're planning on doing.
Good. I was going to ask. Beautiful too. eBay, Amazon, and Walmart, the trifecta. I love it. That's a great way to diversify, have backup plans to your backup plans. And if something gets a little wonky with a product, hey, let's flip it on eBay, flip it on Walmart, right? We've seen a lot of people have a lot of success with that. Yeah, I love the timeline you're on. So how did you say you plan to get into Walmart, correct?
We plan, yes. We do training as needed. I don't know a lot about Walmart, but I understand it's not going to be terribly different from what I do understand from Amazon or eBay. So now that those are bolted down, we're going to continue to grow those. We'll probably bring in a VA this year, at least our first one.
Yes.
Keep growing those businesses. They're bolted down. And but we need to grow ourselves to hit our life goals and our numbers. So we would like to take some training on that shortly, Jim, and we'll be going through some of the courses and identifying the ones that are going to best fit our needs right now.
Yes.
There's a lot of...
Go ahead.
Sorry, that's one of the things I've learned too. There is a lot of information that you guys have to offer. If I took it all, I wouldn't make a dime because I would be learning the entire time.
Yes. We like just in time learning instead of just in case learning. We want you to do the modules that you need next for what you're working on right now. It's impossible to go through the entire library of content, and it's being changed and updated constantly anyway, but you want to find what you need next. So the module is about hiring a virtual assistant. That would make sense. The module is about opening a Walmart account. But it's time for that. Yeah, it's time to get in there and start reading up on that. Excellent. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a great routine. So tell me about your full-time job here. It sounds like it keeps you fairly busy.
It does. I've been in in sales for since 2018.
Okay.
So I've learned every skill I've done, whether it be blue collar, white collar, has added value to what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
So even though our arbitrage business, you're not face to face selling, I understand the principles of pipeline typically is a large funnel. You have to put a lot into it and it starts dripping out. But you have to keep that pipeline full. And I know not everyone understands that terminology, but the more profitable Asens you put in, the more yield it'll add. And you have to keep filling that funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, it's hard. You're clunky at it. You're not very good at, but you learn and you get quicker.
Yeah.
So you keep adding more.
Hey, pardon the short interruption, but I've got an important announcement. We'll get back to the show in just a moment. But have you circled this date on your calendar yet? If not, do it right now. The last 3 days of May 2025, join hundreds of listeners to this show in Orlando, Florida. We want you there. The website is 3 words long, theprovenconference.com, theprovenconference.com. We want you there. You're going to absolutely love it. It's the longest running Amazon seller conference in the world. Did you know that? It was also recently voted among all Amazon sellers who participated in a third-party voting. It wasn't us that sponsored this survey. It was a third party, neutral third party. It was voted the #1 reseller conference in the world, right up there with Amazon's own event itself, which they spend millions and millions of dollars on their event. We have a smaller budget than that, but what we do have is the content and the connections and the relationships and the tools to blast your business into the future. Let's get together the last 3 days of May 2025 in Orlando, Florida, with hundreds of listeners to this show. Theprovenconference.com has details. Get your tickets now. The resort is phenomenal, a very family-friendly place with multiple swimming pools right next door to SeaWorld. Bring your family, come hang out, come a few days early, stay a few days late. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see you in Orlando. Let's get back to the show.
You're clunky at it. You're not very good at, but you learn and you get quicker.
Yeah.
So you keep adding more.
Yeah. So your sales background, it's one of the more valuable business skills. I think everybody needs to have basic sales skills, which to me is just basic conversation and human interaction skills. That's what sales skills are to me. It's not convincing people to buy things they don't need. It's connecting people to the resources they do need and helping them make good decisions. That's a very valuable skill that is going to translate well. And you mentioned you're getting into wholesale, for example, and you mentioned the relational aspect of that. You're exactly right. And I challenge students around here all the time. You've got to be intentionally and constantly pursuing new relationships in your business. And sometimes people resist and say, oh, Jim, I'm selling random widgets to strangers. Why do I need relationships? You are not going to go anywhere near as far, anywhere near as fast if you resist that. You're going to need relationships in our community, maybe a coach. You're going to need relationships with a wholesale distributor, with the managers at the store. The cashier can do you favors. I've had cashiers do me huge favors. We've swapped phone numbers and they'll text me when a big shipment comes in, like, hey, you want us to hold some of this in the back? Like, that's just the cashier. But she has the authority to do that. And I found great inventory that way. So you're always building your network of relationships. That fuels success in your business in ways that sometimes you can't anticipate. And it sounds like you're going to do that naturally and instinctually as you continue your journey because you're comfortable with people, it sounds like, right?
That's exactly right. And everything we do in life is about relationship.
That's right.
Whether we realize it or not, it's about how we interact with each other and even sometimes how we interact with ourselves because a lot of times our mind, will, emotions get in the way. Mm-hmm. We don't keep them in check as well.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a timeless biblical business principle that you just hit on. I don't know if you realize it or not. Maybe you have. Have you read Rabbi Lapin's Business Secrets from the Bible? He's a good friend of our community. Have you read this book yet, by any chance?
About half of it so far.
Okay. Because you just
mentioned a little while since I picked it up. But.
Yeah. Well, one of the principles he drives home is sometimes we operate under the impression that one of the side benefits of being successful in business or building a business is you get some good relationships along the way. No, that's completely reversed. One of the side benefits of intentionally pursuing great relationships is you're going to be able to build a beautiful business. If you serve other people well and you pursue relationships with intentionality, you're positioned perfectly to serve them. You've earned their trust. They know, like, and trust you. they're going to buy whatever service it is that you have and gladly spread the word for you. So you start with the relational aspect and the business comes along. It's not the other way around. You don't start a business and then go try to pursue relationships. You pursue the relationships first and you serve first. That's how you can build a business. And so from God's design, the purpose of business is to build relationships, not the other way around. Your relationships aren't where you go to try to make money, right? So yeah, it's a cool concept. Relationships flow naturally with business, and if you're doing it the right way, your list of people that know, like, and trust you is constantly growing. It sounds like you've already kind of adapted those kind of thought processes into your business. Even though we're selling random widgets to strangers on Amazon, there's a lot of people you're dealing with, and I love that you've recognized that early. It's going to serve you well. Yeah. Any comments on that concept? I've got another question I want to ask you, but
something will come to mind.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. Well, I love the chance to give a little plug for Rabbi Daniel Lapin's book, and I'm excited. I'm actually going to be working on a project very soon. People are going to hear more about it in our community. We're doing something together I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, great book, Business Secrets from the Bible. Totally love that book. It really changed the way I do business, 15 years or so ago. Okay, so the next question I want to ask you is, you've shared that you picked up some momentum. You guys have been doing this about 6 months. You've jumped into, you got eBay, you got Amazon, you're hoping to add on Walmart. You and your wife are doing it together. How is it going? Like, get as specific as you can for me. What are you selling? What categories? Give me some numbers. Break it down for me, a little more detail, so we can paint a picture of where you guys are at.
Well, let me pull my 3P Mercury up here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you pull up the real.
It is so helpful. It even gives you a breakdown of all your categories in the visibility tab. Well, we're doing a little bit of everything. Like you said, that's a lot of different widgets and whatnot. I will tell you this. I remember the day grocery got unlocked. Me and my wife were going through a Walmart, and I'm always scanning something. Just when we're out and about, I'm like, we just have to try it. And something I've learned too, this is a biblical principle as well, is you have not because you ask not.
Mm.
And so I asked, and they said yes. And that's how we got into grocery. It took a couple months, but even our relationship with Amazon is still building trust. It's a relationship. I know Amazon is an entity full of a lot of people,
right?
But they're looking for trust.
Yes.
And so our heaviest category is health and household, actually. But grocery is right there with it now.
Very good.
And we have just started scratching the surface. With the numbers we're at, I mean, the sky's the limit. We can bring in the right people in the right way. And I believe that the Lord is blessing our business. He actually brought us to you, and I didn't know you, Jim, from anyone else. And when I got to see some of your testimony, it was a sigh of relief, and it was a witness to me as well.
Mm.
And just everything that's happened through this process, and the group of wonderful people on Facebook, I couldn't find a more supportive group of people.
Mm.
I mean, everyone here has been a part of Team Nelson's success.
That's phenomenal to hear. Yeah, we tried to be very intentional about building a community of support and encouragement. And it's not like we're in denial about the tough parts of the business, but we tackle them with creativity and find multiple solutions. Whatever the challenge is, there's always multiple solutions, multiple paths forward, multiple ways to pivot. And what we discovered, and this is another principle, from the Business Secrets of the Bible, is your security safety blanket in business is the strength of your relationship network. So when something gets weird or wonky or goes off, do you have a network of people that you can rely on and bounce those things off of? If so, you've got a lot of possible doors and paths forward. If not, and you've isolated and kind of burnt, you haven't established relationships, you're out there by yourself when things go wrong. It's sad when one person falls and there's no one there to help them. It's a biblical principle. But if two are together, there's someone to help. What if you got a community? So I love that you pointed that out, because that by design is what we've tried to foster in the community. And I love that you've recognized that and benefited from it and now contribute to it. I think you'd love to come to our conference, by the way. We'll save that topic and hit it before we get off the air today. But I'd like to hear some specific numbers, if you don't mind sharing. Just general margins. What's a good day, a good month for you? Just give me some general numbers on how business is going.
Sure. Well, we try to stick to everything that we've learned so far. We're floating probably around 19% margin on average. Now we've got some used books that have just been tremendous, actually. Margins, you get them for nothing. And we sold our highest selling book, I think, is $298 for a
Wow.
used book.
That's awesome. Do you merchant fulfill those? You ship them yourself, like eBay style?
It depends. If it's over 1 million, as far as the rating,
Yeah.
we probably we'll merchant fulfill.
Hold
we
on.
haven't. Everything we've gotten, we typically don't buy unless it's under that, so we can just send it in as FBA. Even the rare books,
Okay.
we know we might have some storage fees on it.
Yeah, but the margins are so good, you're not worried about
They
it.
are.
Yeah,
they are.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that Amazon came to know, like, and trust you and started ungating you faster because of books? Do you feel like that was part of your story or not? Because I haven't heard many new sellers talk about, it's been a while since we encouraged new sellers to do books because the storage fees, right? But if you know how to read a keep it chart, books are just another ASIN. They're just another product. And you can decide if it's worth your money to risk or not. So books aren't some kind of special, over there category. It's just another product. And you look at the keep it chart and you make your decision. Do I want to invest in this product or not? But did you do a lot of books, and do you think that helped you get ungated more quickly? Because it sounds like you're getting ungated pretty steadily now. Wondering what tipped the scale for you.
I call it favor.
Yeah.
And I follow the favor. I've learned to follow the favor.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been consistent. Like I tell people, consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't feel like it, send a box in, send something in.
Yeah.
You might be checking a box some weeks, but you're still growing that pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And we sell across several categories. Let's see, 11 categories is what I see right now, and I haven't uploaded all of our POs yet. And it's fairly balanced. We follow their rules. You're playing in their sandbox, follow their rules.
Right.
The pack ship standards, any rule that there is, just follow the rules. Expiration dates, especially when you get to foods. We did have one hiccup that hit hard. It was in September. We lost a shipment due to the hurricane. Hurricane Helene, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that hurt, and that set us back. And unfortunately, we weren't able to recover anything from it. But we used it as an opportunity to grow instead of letting that defeat us. So instead of shriveling in fear, we decided just to start packing things even better. Not that it could have survived a hurricane, but we overpack.
Yeah.
I just recommend overpack.
So just so I understand, did I just hear you say that a shipment was lost by Amazon and you were not reimbursed for it?
It never made it to Amazon. That's the problem.
Okay. So it was a UPS thing, or?
It was.
Gotcha.
It was.
And
it was a hurricane.
They didn't reimburse.
They did not.
Wow. That's unfortunate. Huh. Usually they're UPS, FedEx, the carriers are pretty good about that. And you feel like you gave it a good shot, to research and try to make that happen, and they denied it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They opened a claim themselves. They denied it. We followed an appeal to that claim, and it was still denied. At the end of the day, we learned, instead of focusing on that error, on that tragedy, keep moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's absolutely, that's what you have to do. You just want to make sure you've done your due diligence to try to recover, and then move forward quickly and pivot quickly if you have to, and absorb the blow and learn the lesson. Right. That's sad to hear. I typically hear of them being very good about UPS, especially reimbursing. There must have been some kind of special circumstances in their mind. They didn't give you anything. It's very unusual. Yeah. But anyway.
And that's when we started overpacking.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, what's been your best month so far? Total sales.
Our best month was December, and we did just over 5K.
Nice.
So part of our testimony is we started with $500, basically in that June, July area, and we were looking. We took as much training program as we could in in that 2-week window, roughly 3-week window.
Right.
So we went and we bought a thermal printer. We thought that, okay, there again, we're playing in Amazon's sandbox. And we were already thinking about eBay at that point. It's like, let's get that one bolted down. So we bought a good printer.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it went towards profitable Asens. And so far, every month. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that's incredible. You start with $500 because there's a lot of people like, you can't start with, you got to have 5 or 8,000 or 10. No, you don't. This stuff is, if you got about $100 a month for the tools and software, and a little bit extra than that for inventory, you can start testing small and dive and wading in. It sounds like that's what you guys did. I just wanted to emphasize that's phenomenal because it's just more evidence that, you just don't need a lot to get started. So did you ever add any more funds into that initial 500 or have you just been rolling that over?
We've been rolling it over.
Good for you. That's fantastic. So when you do the math, starting with 500 and you just had a $5,000 month at about 20% net margin. I mean, you guys have built a machine. You got a lot of it sitting out there in inventory right now, right, as well. So that's part of your asset that you've built. You guys have a beautiful machine after 6 months. And if you compound this forward, this trajectory that you've created, I can see where you're pretty excited about the 1 year, the 2 year. Those start to be some pretty exciting numbers. Yeah. Well done.
It's exponential growth. That's what we see. And that's our hope is for, though it's not seen currently, I can see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's so great. I think it's going to inspire and encourage a lot of folks to, get started. And something that happens around here a lot, Matthew, people will come to us and say, I've got $20,000. How can I do this quickly? Like, you need to do the same thing that Matthew did. You need to start with a few $100s, experiment your way into this, learn the basics, make a few mistakes, get a bunch of transactions, earn Amazon's trust, start to get ungated. You're only a few $1,000s in to make all those things happen, as far as how much money you've spent. And then at some point in the future, you're going to start getting your confidence. And the challenge you're going to hit, Matthew, as many as have, is I've got more Asens I could buy than I have money to buy them. I got more good inventory out there that I could go invest in. I just need some money. And fortunately, there's some really good services out there that love to fund small businesses, or you can just keep that steady, keep rolling it over, and you're going to get to a great place either way eventually. But you can build a bigger business more quickly if you leverage properly and cautiously, using other people's money. That just means they get a little piece of your business as you do it, but you can grow a lot faster that way. Fantastic. All right. So what else is on your mind? What other questions do you have? What other parts of your story have you left out? I wouldn't mind hearing what you do, what your wife does. What are the roles that you guys have kind of settled into? You said you do the shopping together when you go out RA, but I haven't heard a whole lot else about the operation. So go wherever you'd like to go.
Well, the operation is still somewhat liquid. As far as when I say that, we set goals. We take a lot of notes. We have a lot of spreadsheets. This is why we're bringing in 3P Mercury because we see the value. Mm-hmm. See the value in organizing, and there's some other software we plan to bring in the near future. Software's cheaper than bringing on a person. Yeah. I would love to be able to bring on a person. We're just not quite there yet. But not. I guess for my wife, it's been seeing her grow in negotiating. We went to a liquidation store. This is an eBay story. They were selling a widget for hardly anything. So the salesperson meets says, "Hey, you have a pallet of these you want to get rid of. What will you give me if I take the entire pallet off your hands? Because I know you need this room for something else. We're changing season." My wife's like, "What are we going to do with the pallet of these?" About a month later, though, we've sold 30 of these, and I think it took 3 of them to pay off the pallet.
Ooh,
basically.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's like you have to have vision.
Yeah.
You can't be narrow-minded. You have to be able to see when there's an opportunity and jump on the opportunity if you have the ability to do so. Mm-hmm. Not every opportunity is something you do want to jump on. Still do your research. Don't let your mind, will, or emotions cloud your judgment when making a purchase. But if you I'll go back to Amazon now. If you've tested an ASIN and it's moving, I'm okay with investing some money in that, because also when we go out, because we do some thrifting as well, part of our eBay business. But when I pick up an item and I do a comparable scan on it, I see that item as I have 50% ROI in it. So that means that for every dollar I spend, I make, after cost, 50 cents back.
Mm-hmm.
Name an investment that yields that kind of fruit.
Yeah.
With every dollar you spend.
I had a real estate investor on our show not too long ago who got into this business. He's doing both. And he said, there's nothing like the returns of this business. There's nothing out there. He's like, every ASIN I have, even the ones that are kind of marginally performing, are ridiculously outperforming from a net margin, annualized specifically, compared to any real estate deal. Because sometimes people go, oh, you're only making a 10% net margin on that one. Like, that's kind of rough. Well, no, annualize that. You're going to turn that money over somewhere between 8 to 15 times this year. You're going to do that 10% thing 8 to 15 times. Multiply any number times 1.1 10 times. It gets bigger. It gets a lot bigger. And you're doing that with a whole catalog of ASIN. And that's kind of the worst case scenario, 10 points of margin, right? We got people doing 20 and 30. You're at 20. You're still kind of finding your way. So you annualize those net margin returns. Yeah, that's a robust pile of cash you're building there from your 500 initial to starting dollars. So
Exactly.
Do you happen to know offhand? I don't want you to have to go do a bunch of math, but what is the value of your business right now? Like your inventory, what you paid for it, plus the net margins you've received. Do you happen to have a ballpark what that $500 has turned into so far as a general number, if you had to approximate?
I know the selling value is roughly probably nearing $30,000 as far as the selling value.
Sold all your inventory for what you're asking, it would be 30 grand. So in 6 months, you've turned 500 into 30 grand, plus the net margin on the sales you've already made.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? So let's call it $35,000, $40,000, somewhere in that ballpark. You've turned 500 into 40 grand, $35,000, $40,000 in 6 months. Yeah, go find it. Besides buying Bitcoin at the right time, man, there's not a whole lot going on out there that can replicate.
It's funny you say that, because we've used some of this to start investing in other assets, to grow our asset column. And because of this,
yeah,
I'm just going to say it. And the way I can best understand how to say it is, it's the only legal way of printing money.
Hey, we'll get back to the great episode in just a moment. Sorry for the interruption, but I want to point something out. If you're enjoying this program, this podcast, could you do us a little favor? Could you spread the word? Send some friends to silentjimdotcom and say, hey, check out this podcast. Multiple streams of income, learn to sell on Amazon, great free content. Hey, help us spread the word. That's the way we market this show, is you sharing with others. That's why we have over 6 million downloads on iTunes alone. And speaking of iTunes, would you leave us a review? We love to see those iTunes reviews rolling in. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes as well. That really helps us out in the industry to get recognition and gain followers and subscribers. If you subscribe yourself, leave us a review. By the way, did you know that this show that you're listening to right now was voted as the #1 podcast for Amazon sellers by an independent survey in late 2024? That's right, the #1 show for Amazon sellers. We won. And you're a big part of why. So thank you for being a listener. You're the best part of this show. But hey, help us spread the word if you don't mind. That helps us continue to bring you quality content, attract high quality sponsors and other listeners who will pay attention to what we're doing here, because we want to teach you to use the internet creatively to launch and grow multiple streams of income. We need your help to spread the word. We want to help others do the same. All right. God bless you, business building warrior. Thanks for a couple moments of your time. And let's get back to the show.
I'm just going to say it. And the way I can best understand how to say it is, it's the only legal way of printing money.
Yeah. So until someone understands that, it feels like I'm trying to sell some kind of pipe dream or something. But once you see the real numbers, it's so powerful, especially when you consider, Matthew, at no point along this journey have you guys had to look each other in the eye and say, okay, we're getting ready to take a really huge risk. This could go really bad. Like, no, get a few $100 here, a few $100 there, buy 3 units of that, 10 units of this. Doesn't go well, we cash out, get our money back, or at least almost all of it back. There's no big risk here. We're like, oh man, we just lost $8,000. We shouldn't have done that. No, you're buying a few units at a time. You're scaling in nice and slow. You're wading in to comfortable waters at your own pace. And even doing it that way, working 8 to 10 hours a week, you've got a business worth $30,000 to $40,000 right now, and you haven't put another penny in since your initial 500. That's a great story, man. That is a great story. Yeah. The more I think about your story, the more excited I get. You guys are on a great trajectory for sure. So what are your plans? What's your big, hairy, audacious dream for 2025? Like, it's December of 2025, and you guys have just closed the books on the year. What are you believing for? What are you shooting for?
My high goal is $1 million.
Million in sales, year 2. That's aggressive, but the trajectory you're on, it's very possible. You're going to probably need some outside funding, a little bit of help there to get to that number.
Yes.
But yeah, there's no reason it can't be done. You might need a few more hours too. You have to hire some good help to get there, a VA or 2, right? There's some good modules in the Proven Amazon course on how to hire a VA. And just to make one big suggestion for you and the listeners, if you go down that road, don't hire someone who calls themselves an Amazon expert, because what that probably means is they're working for a bunch of other people and they've already learned a bunch of bad habits and they think they know what it means. They don't know the Proven Amazon course replens systems. You're going to want to find a good person, probably in the Philippines, $3 or $4 an hour, train them, bring them up to speed, have them locked in with just you. And you're going to be amazed at the amount of work that you can load off of yourself onto someone else for $3 or $4 an hour and just ignite your business, waking up every day and they've got 20 or 30 new test-worthy replens for you to go buy, right? Off this list you gave them or whatever, or this website you told them to research, or this, however it is you're using the tools now. That will continue to expand, by the way. You've got a certain skill set right now that at best is 10% of the skills that you will eventually have when it comes to sourcing profitable and test-worthy inventory, right? And even with that limited skill set, you've done so well. Man, this is encouraging. Yeah, where else do you want to go? Keep us going. Is there any part of your story you haven't shared yet, or that anywhere you can go? Any questions for me?
Well, I guess I'll say that I haven't been the most organized person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, going through this, I put some bullet points together just so I could stay on task for this session, and it was revealing to me that I even need to start listening to some of the things that I've already learned. And my wife and I were talking. I'm like, I think we need to go back to the basics again, because before we can train a VA, we need to make sure that we have this ironed out completely. And I think a key to 2025 in our vision is to be able to take ourselves out of parts of it, because we're actually slowing it down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many opportunities that once you break the paradigm of the 9 to 5, I call it, that there's multiple streams within these streams, but there's streams that these are going to open up opportunities to that we haven't even seen yet, but being able to pause and recognize it, even though it's sometimes right in front of your face.
Yeah.
That's one of the keys to it. And don't be scared of mistakes. Faith equals risk sometimes. It doesn't have to be big risk.
Nope.
But faith is stepping out into the things that aren't seen, into the unknown. That's exactly what we did here. And we've got a great testimony. And at the end of this, I give God the glory in all of it, because left to my own devices, I would stay in my peace and comfort. And you're created in the image of God. You have a trajectory that you cannot comprehend if you just open up to it.
Oh, I completely agree. And you see that as a theme throughout all of Scripture. And God calls people into uncomfortable territory so that he can be glorified with the story that's told, using, unworthy, unqualified vessels that we are, mistakes and, you know, going left when God says go right, but he uses us anyway. And, if that's not a picture of what business is, you know, but when you're faithful to it, and you said, we're made in the image of God. I completely agree. We're both Christians, obviously. This podcast is for anyone, but, something I love about that is, that as Christians, we believe and we know that God created everything. He's a creative being. He creates for the benefit of others. And he's always creating, and he's always doing things that shows how much he loves and cares for others. And we're made in that image. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That sounds an awful lot like building a business to me. I mean, like serving others. And should we be surprised that there's a reward system built in to serving others well? That's what a successful business is. That's all it is. From my vantage point, it's evidence that you're serving others well when you get those green certificates of appreciation that my friend Rabbi Daniel Lappin calls money. It's a reward system for serving others well. As long as you're not stealing it from anybody, they're giving it to you voluntarily in exchange for the service you're providing and enabling you to do even more of it. What a beautiful thing. So we're creating, we're serving, and we're benefiting from that. It's just such a privilege to be a part of a system. And it sounds like that your worldview lines up pretty cleanly with that. And that's a lot of what's driving you forward. And I love your 7-figure goal, man. I wasn't sure what you were going to say, but I love the aggression there. Don't be disappointed if you don't quite get there, but it's doable. It is. We've seen that happen before. Well, I mean, one of the people that did it very quickly, now he started with a little more starting funds than you did, but I don't think he was any further along than you are 6 months in, was Kang. And that's the guy that created the system software that we're talking about, right? Because he's got a multiple 7-figure business at this point being run by a VA and a warehouse worker in the software. But he grew very quickly. Within 2.5, 3 years or so, he was at that level. I think he's just now 3 years in. So he was a couple of years in, he was hitting that, the levels you're talking about. But yeah, very reasonable goals. And I love your heart. And I think that you and your wife are probably on a leadership trajectory around here as well, which brings me to a topic I want to talk about relationships and getting plugged into the community and you seeing if this is your people, which I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. We're your kind of people around here. You coming to the conference in Orlando? You guys hoping to make it?
Well, we haven't actually put too much thought into it yet. Tell me what it is, Jim.
I would encourage you, in the last 3 days of May, and this is a chance for me to do a little mini commercial. The last 3 days of May, 2025, we are the longest running annual Amazon seller conference in the world. We've been doing it longer than Amazon itself. We're going to meet again in a resort near SeaWorld in Orlando. It's the DoubleTree Inn Resort, very family friendly, gated resort. The rooms are around $100 a night because we negotiated way down on the prices. Beautiful place. Walk to SeaWorld if you want. Come down a couple days early, stay a few days late. But last year we had about 800 to 900 people show up, families, very family friendly event. Come on down, join us. But what you're going to experience is you get a little taste of it in our Facebook group, but just the encouragement, the motivation you're going to receive being around these people. And there's a synergy, which is a word you used earlier. One of my favorite words, by the way, that happens. And I say it's a way to move your business forward 6 to 9 months in 3 days, because you're just going to get so much clarity and so many good connections and relationships and ideas. You're going to go home with a list of I got to do these 9 things. And here's 40 other things I hope to do soon. That list is just going to ignite your business. It's a great investment. We'd love to have you guys there if it's logistically possible with your schedules and this spring. But yeah, so that's the pitch. But I think you'd absolutely love to be there after hearing what, especially as you spoke from the heart. It's your kind of people.
Yeah, I think that we would enjoy it. I'll talk to my wife about it, and we'll see what we can do. And that $1 million goal I have, I've done it for years for other people. So why can't I do it for myself and my community?
That is good. Yes. Yeah. And when you're in sales, you're helping other people grow their dream, right? And you're getting paid well and compensated well. Sure. It's an admirable career choice. I think it's one of the most admirable careers you could possibly pursue is to be in sales. But yeah, to build your own legacy, your own machine, your own business that you can sell or pass on someday, Yeah, there's something special about that. And I say, I don't know if you've ever heard me say this or not, Matthew, but I believe we live in the point in time in all of human history where if you could land anywhere in all of human history where it was the most ideal time to be able to launch and grow your own business successfully, the odds were the best. And to be able to build multiple income streams, your odds are the best. There's no other point in all of human history that's better than right now. And I think we're heading into even better territory. That's how I feel about it. You jump back in time 30 years ago, this kind of things we're talking about were impossible. Starting a business meant raising tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars and putting it all at risk for 3 to 5 to 7 years and hoping at some point it turned the corner and it started coming back to you. That's how business was done. It's just not necessary anymore. You can test small, fail small, learn your lessons, move forward, turn $500 into a $30,000 business in 6 months. That wasn't possible before. It is now, right? So I call this the greatest time in human history to be alive. If your goal is to launch and grow multiple income streams, build successful businesses, what a privilege it is. So let's take advantage of it. Outstanding. Well, I love hanging out with you, Matthew. This has been a good conversation. It's at the end of the day for me, at the end of a kind of a tired day, but you've perked me up, man. I'm excited, and just to imagine the people who are going to hear this story and be motivated and encouraged by it. What else is on your mind? Was there anything else you were hoping to cover today? You said you jotted down a few notes. Was there anything else you want to get into before we start to wrap this one up?
I guess some of the key points that I could kind of identify just going through what's happened the last 6 months, and that is it didn't take a lot of money to start.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an open mind and a good mindset. Those are very important. Stay focused on what makes you money. That way you can keep compounding that money. Stay consistent, which is something I identified I need to work on just by jotting down some notes. It doesn't hurt to jot down some notes and reflect on what you've done. Sometimes you realize things that you could probably do better, just like I did today. Enjoy yourself. It's an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
We were promised life more abundantly. It's way beyond what we can imagine, actually. We get a vision, but it's way beyond. It's better. It's better. And I just pray a blessing over everyone's businesses in 2025. And that don't worry about what Chicken Little's saying. The sky's not going to fall.
Yeah.
You're blessed and you're favored.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah. Your messaging and your worldview and the lens that you're seeing this opportunity through really resonates with me. You talked about the sky is falling. It's a sad thing, I think, to realize that you've spent, and I know people who've done this, years upon years, kind of tinkering with different ideas online and never really jumping, because every time they start to investigate and start to go, they find out someone else who it didn't work out for, and they back up and panic. Like, well, it worked for a handful of people, but it didn't work for this guy, so it won't work for me. And they kind of back out of it, and they don't put their whole heart into it. But I say all the time about the eBay, Amazon specifically, and I'm sure Walmart's going to be the same way, that somewhere around 4 to 5 or 6 times per year on each of those major platforms, there is a sky falling moment where the naysayers, the people who are getting a little aggravated by whatever is going on in the world of e-commerce, say, you know what? It used to be great, and it's just not anymore, right? And you hear it 4 or 5 times a year. It'll happen, and the chatter will start. But then every single time, I've seen this probably around 100 times over 22 years on the major platforms. Every single time, without an exception yet, within 2 or 3 weeks on the other side of that, it's old news and no one's even talking about it anymore, and people are still making great money, and new students are launching and things are going well. You just don't want to paint yourself into a corner. And I recorded a podcast episode that'll probably come out near this one, talking about the people who've been doing it a while, that quit. What mistake did they make? They drop out, they get burnt out, whatever. What are those common mistakes? Because I've seen most people are still just humming along, doing great. But the people who quit, let's study them. What is it? What happened? Is there any commonalities there? And I've seen a few, and you've hit on a couple of them. Mindset, huge, right? As soon as you turn negative, you start looking for negative everywhere, you're going to find it. But if you continue to look for positive and opportunity, and instead of saying, oh no, what just happened? You say, what does this make possible? Right? A great example is when Amazon has made some changes on multi-packs and bundles. You can say, oh no, this destroys everything. Or you can say, what is now possible that wasn't before? Let's pivot into that. Did we go so deep into something that it crashes us when there's a little change in a policy? That's a mistake. You want to stay diversified, right? So those kind of thoughts is what I went into that podcast thinking, and I think it's going to serve some people well. I'm a multiple income stream guy, always have been, always will be on the internet. You just never know when a policy change or a tweak or, So these people who like go all in on just Nike, for example, every time Nike gets hard to deal with, they run for the hills screaming and crying, right? Like, yeah, I sell Nike, but it's one of 800 brands that we sell. I'm not going to go $100,000 into Nike next month. Oh, yeah, I don't want to take that risk. We're diversified, right? So as long as you have that mentality, which you absolutely do, it sounds like, Matthew, you can have a very sustained, long-term, very comfortable, nice pace business that doesn't have to be stressful. And that's the road that you're on. And I'm so excited, man, to see where this business takes your family and to see where you wind up in our community, in some kind of role. Who knows? We're always looking for good people to create content, to coach, to encourage. And you're just one of those guys, I can tell. Outstanding. Well, okay, we've bounced back and forth, kind of trying to wind this down, but I don't want to take your last chance. What thoughts came to mind, if anything else was on your list for today, or anything else you wanted to hit before we wrap this one up? You've been truly a pleasure. And if nothing else, man, I'm encouraged. I am very encouraged.
I'm excited. I appreciate the time that you've given me, Jim. I appreciate the content that you guys have created, that you've updated, even stuff that's old. There's value in all of it. And like you said, the timing of that value is important as well. But hold true to the vision as far as people, when they jump into this, like I had a vision, and the vision's not easy. If you have to write the vision out so it can make haste. And that's what we do. We just keep trucking along. We make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, keep growing. Don't be scared of eBay. It's a different platform. We do probably on average 25 to 30% of our business there. But in times that it helped us develop through the fourth quarter for Amazon, because eBay gave additional funding that most of it went to Amazon. But I'm not going to walk away from a 50-cent widget I can sell on eBay that I can't sell on Amazon and still make $15 a piece or whatever it be.
Exactly.
Just be open to the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Phenomenal. You're on a great trajectory. You've got the right attitude, the right mindset. Your perspective on relationships is correct. People sometimes completely underestimate the power of that. We spent some good time on that topic today. Intentionally pursuing relationships and constantly expanding your network of people that know, like, and trust you, and you've served them well, and you've connecting with them. You're following up and checking in on them. What are you working on? How can I help? You're characterized by asking those kind of questions. You are on an almost unstoppable trajectory right now, outside of some kind of crazy circumstance that no one could foresee coming. You guys are on a great path right now. And like I love to say sometimes on our podcast, if you were a stock, I'd be buying all I could get my hands on right now, right? You guys are better than Bitcoin in my book right now. Like, I'm all in, because you've got it, man. You've got all the moving parts in the right place. And I just can't wait to see where you guys go. And if I can be of service, Matthew, please do reach out. And thank you for your contributions in the Facebook group as you start to get your confidence and start kind of speaking to these newbies and steering them off the cliffs that they're heading towards. We see a lot of the same stuff over and over again in that group sometimes, especially from the new folks. So thanks for contributing there. And it's been a genuine pleasure hanging out with you today, my friend. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You too. And there was one thing that came to mind. Just
Sure.
because I have a background in sales, understand, I started out as an electrician. I'm a technical guy at heart. You don't have to have a sales background to build a relationship.
You do not. No. You just got to actually care about people, I think, is the number one skill, right?
Love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah. And if you can find yourself genuinely, yeah, it's a simple thing. I mean, Jesus gave 2 commands: love others like you love yourself, love God, man. It's like, come on. That's it. It's not a complicated thing. And those are business skills, man. Those are business skills, right? Good stuff. Well, hey, man, let's wrap this one up. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you, my friend. I'm going to speak to the listeners for just a second. If you received some benefit from this episode today, I've got some really good news for you. If you scroll back in time, you're going to hear hundreds of interviews that I've done with proven Amazon course students talking about their journey. Some of them are like Matthew today, started fairly recently. They're just ramping up. They're finding their way. Others are incredible success stories. In all cases, we're going to motivate and encourage you and equip you with some things that you didn't know before, give you some good tips and ideas to kind of shove you down the road in the right direction, and hopefully give you the confidence that you're in a good place and you're doing this business the right way. Plow forward with us. If you're not in our Facebook group yet, go to silentjimdotcom. Check that out. It's completely free. I mean, we just passed 79,000 members in there. A lot of encouraging people helping you out. One of my favorite posts, Matthew, recently was a new lady. I think we gifted her a free Proven Amazon course, if I recall correctly. We like to do that sometimes when someone's struggling. But she posted her first sale, just a little picture of a $9, $10 sale. And there's to date 400 people who have either commented or posted a like or love her, just encouraging her and showing her love. I love that. If you need that kind of support in your life, get into the Facebook group. That's what we're there to do, because we see your business success as something to be celebrated. And there's just not a lot of places where you can find that. That's what we do in our group. All right. God bless the business building warriors who hung out with us today. One last time, Matthew, great job today. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Jim.
And we'll have another great episode for you very soon. Thanks for listening.